So that having been said, let's talk about Canva AI Advanced. Canva AI Advanced. And I'm going to talk first about PSD files. You may have heard this before. I do want to run through this very briefly, and that is that this does not necessarily have anything to do with Canva AI. It is an important aspect of what you're going to be able to do with Canva. You can import PSD files to Canva. And I've been told that it is not a very robust system, that you may not be able to necessarily see layers. However, you can import any PSD file into Canva and you can make a decision for yourself. Just so that you'll know, you may not be able to see the layers for what you're bringing over. What you're going to do is you're just going to go and you're going to grab the file once you click the import button. And what you're going to see is that that PSD file is not going to show up. That means you're going to have to go down to your file area, and you'll see there right in the middle of the screen. What I did was I changed the designation to all files as opposed to just custom files. And then once I change it to all files, then it's going to be seen. Now, one thing that you'll want to note, when I did this experiment, I actually tried to do this in Microsoft Edge. It didn't work. And so it locked up on me. And what I'm showing you is basically how it locked up on me. So you may find more success if you try it in Google Chrome. So when you do that and you click the All Files button, then that PSD file is going to show up. And when you can see that PSD file showing up, that means then you can grab it, you can pull it into your Canva account. And as I just said, the layers are not going to be too clean. You may have to do some reconfiguration. But if you need that PSD file and you need to do something with it in Canva, it is doable as long as you're not looking for layers. And if you're not looking for layers, you can just bring it over into Canva and you can start to work with it. And I think that what you can do is you can move some of the pieces around as you're seeing here in this part of the session. I'm going to suggest that one of the things that you want to do is to get familiar with Canva. And before you start talking about using the AI features, in particular the one we're going to talk about here tonight, just get familiar with what it provides. And that's going to be very important. And a very easy way to do this is to go to the menu and to just take a look at everything that you can do. It says visual documents. So, understand that all of these things are things that Canva says you can do with it. It says you can do things with photos and videos. So again, these are things that you want to be aware of that Canva says about itself. It says that you can produce print items. So in other words, you can get things ready to take to a printer in order to get it ready to print. So, if you're into print on demand, or if you are trying to do something in your local area and you were trying to produce something and you want to produce it in Canva, you can. And then also definitely anything in the physical realm that's going to be a marketing promotional piece, logos, posters, flyers, brochures. So things that are both online and offline. So anything, right? Anything that you see in this chart, this is what Canva says that you can do with it. It says that this is what you can do with all of its features that it has available. You see right down here at the bottom, there are infographics available, and you don't even really see that in the list. So again, what's most important is that you familiarize yourself with the capacity, right? Just make sure you understand the capacity of everything that it can do, because this is how you'll know what you can ask the AI to do for you. And I'll show you what's going to be important here in this session. So once you understand everything it can offer you, that's when you will not be hesitant in asking the AI to produce something for you that maybe you might have thought, well, I can't really necessarily, all you can really do in Canva is you can do flyers and social media stuff, when you can do a whole lot more than that, as long as you understand what it can do. One of the other things you want to do is you want to go to the where it says create a design, and you want to see all the ways in which you can output things. That's another thing you want to understand in terms of the capacity of Canva. How can I output? What file types? How can I deliver things from Canva? What kind of file will hit my hard drive? That's also going to be important because, again, it speaks to what you can ask Canva to do. So you want to understand that also. The other thing is, and this is not going to be a comprehensive session on all of the individual elements, but you want to make sure you understand all of the elements that you can add. You'll see here that you can add elements. Canva has all kinds of elements you can add. You can add text. You can add your brand colors. All of these elements that you see on the left side menu. This is understanding the capacity of what Canva can do. So again, you do need to understand these things before you start asking the AI to do anything, because in some cases, you'll be asking the AI to do something that'll only be a half measure. You'll be trying to do something that maybe the AI will do for you as long as you understand that you can ask it. Now, this is not a case where you've got to have the right prompt. Before you can have the right prompt, you have to know what to ask the prompt to do. So this is beyond prompting. So what I'm telling you now is not necessarily prompt engineering, it's Canva engineering. And if you understand Canva engineering, then you'll understand what the integration itself can do. I do want to talk now and spend the bulk of the time talking about Canva and ChatGPT. And Canva does have a ChatGPT integration. You can find that integration, and one of the ways you can do that as of the recording of this session, if you go to your favorite search engine and you type in Canva and GPT or Canva and GPTs, you will see a search result. And there's a search result right there in the middle of the page. You will click on that search result, and it says right now, introducing GPTs. Now, I will tell you this to you, that depending on when you see this, this may change. So you may not be able to find the same things, or the interface may have changed. But as of right now, if you type in GPTs and Canva, you're going to see a search result that says introducing GPTs and OpenAI. When you click on that link, that's going to take you to a page that looks like this. And Canva is basically saying, we want to introduce to you the world of GPTs. It's basically a way of being able to create these little private areas of ChatGPT to do what you want it to do. So if you have a particular way of, let's say, writing a memo, or you have a particular way of writing a blog post, and you want to train ChatGPT in your way, you're going to create a GPT. And so GPTs are a way of being able to create these little private nooks of ChatGPT so that it will interact with you in a way that you want it to pre-programmed. So that's what you're basically doing. It is a way of pre-programming ChatGPT for a personal use or for a business use that's going to be particular to you. This almost eliminates the need to do lots of prompting to get things ready. You're going to create your own GPT for various purposes. Now, the reason that's important for us right now is that there is a test GPT that OpenAI is making available. And you'll see it here in your page. So if you go to that page and you scroll down, you're going to see that what OpenAI says is that they are making available to ChatGPT Plus and enterprise users their Canva GPT. Right? So now I will tell you, if you're used to using the Canva plugin, that is probably going to be similar to that. But again, you don't necessarily, as of the recording of the session, you don't necessarily have to have anything special in order to use the Canva GPT engine. You will need to have a Plus account. So if you don't have a Plus account, that is the minimum. You will need a Plus account of ChatGPT in order to do that. And many of the features that we might talk about here tonight, they do require a ChatGPT Plus subscription. I do realize that in some cases, having all these little subscriptions, it can be an irritation. It can be a bit of an inconvenience when you've got lots of little subscriptions and not necessarily, they're all not monetized until you do something with them. I understand that. But in trying to understand how these things work together, this is something you may have to do and test for at least a month so you can see the integration, and then you can turn it off. There's no penalty for turning it off and turning it back on right now. So if you just want the advanced features for a month, you've got a project to do, it might be a good idea to just pay the Plus subscription And then before you get ready to have to renew, then you just turn that plus subscription off so that you can use it only when you need it. You can use the capacity only when you need to use the capacity. Now, I will tell you this, and I just said this a minute ago, that if you go to the ChatGPT plugin store, you will then go to the plugin store. The plugin store has Canva. And so this is a different process than Canva GPT. And I just want to make sure that you understand that these are two different things, that you may have already used the Canva plugin, but what I'm talking about is going to be something different when we're talking about Canva GPT. And I don't think that you need a subscription for a special subscription for the Canva GPT as of the recording of this session. So as I said, you're going to see when we do the Canva plugin process, that means then that you can attach the Canva plugin to your Chat GPT. That's not what we're going to be doing tonight. Again, I just want to make sure you know that this is going to be a different and a separate process. One thing I will say, that before you start using Canva GPT, you need to be able to understand what it's going to do. You need to understand how to ask Chat GPT what it's going to do for you. So once you set up the GPT, you are going to ask ChatGPT what it will actually do. I suggest that what you do is you ask it what it does, and we will show you that here in a second. Basically, you're going to turn on the GPT, and you will ask ChatGPT, well, what does this thing do? What all can it do for us? Or what can it do for me in this case? You may want to even give it a scenario. You want to ask it how it is to be prompted, right? So make sure that you ask it how to prompt once you are inside. Ask it for sample prompts. Very important. So you want to understand the pattern that ChatGPT says. Now, again, that's not going to be comprehensive. That doesn't mean that you know everything. It does mean that what ChatGPT does is going to pick some prompts that it thinks is the best way for you to be able to leverage it. Now, you might want to give it some information about how you want to use it at this point. However, I think it's a good idea not to give it any other information other than the fact that what you want is sample prompts. You don't want it to be tainted. You don't want the machine to try to create a context for you before you figure out what this thing is doing. Because again, you're not talking to a person. You're talking to a machine. If you use a particular word, the machine just takes that word, it gets stuck on that word, and it tries to contextualize everything by a few words that you place in there. We don't want that at this stage. We just want to understand what kind of prompts generally do we need to put into it so it's going to give us some results with the Canva GPT. Ask it to do an example, right? So go one step further than a sample prompt. Ask it to go through an entire example. Right? Maybe you want to give it some context then, but you don't have to. You just want to see it start to finish. So ask it to go through one entire process where it figures out what the prompt is, it prompts, it then goes and does the action, and then it actually produces something based on the prompt that it gives. And all these things are going to be good things to go through before you start using it. So this is why we've said this before we get into actually using the Canva GPT. You need to understand these things, and you should have these things written down, and you should really use these things when you get into Canva GPT. Now, I will say this: you're not going to break anything. So if you don't do things this way, nothing's going to break. Nothing's going to happen. You're not going to mess anything up. So don't worry about that. I just wanted to kind of give you the best way to get the best results as fast as you can. Another thing you want to ask ChatGPT is ask about the difference between using this and the plugin. Now, it may or may not give you that information, and in some cases, depending on how you ask it, it might give you information that may or may not be fully correct. But you do want to kind of understand that if you can. So make sure you ask about what is the difference between Canva GPT and Canva, the plugin, in terms of what it produces, not in terms of what it is. So, yes, you want to know what the difference is, but you don't care how to categorize it. You and I can only care about what it does. So we want to find out what's the difference between these two ways of using Canva and what it actually produces. Ask about the difference between using Canva GPT and using the browser-based Canva. So understand what the differences are. Understand the difference in how it produces and what it produces. These are very important things that even if you don't necessarily process it every time you use Canva, what you'll do is you'll kind of develop this methodology is, well, I'll use the browser base for this. I'll use ChatGPT and Canva GPT for another purpose. And so you will have these ways of being able to use Canva that really have everything to do with how you're going to get your project done, have less to do with having to use a browser or having to use Canva GPT. There's the link. So you'll see the link there for the Canva. And all you're going to do now, you should be already be logged into your Canva to your ChatGPT Plus account, right? So I'm logged in here on my ChatGPT Plus account here. So all I'm going to do here is now I'm going to go to this page that I found in the search engine. I'm going to click on this, and you're going to see this, right? You're going to see this screen. It's not nothing's happened. You haven't done anything wrong. You're just going to then click on this area that says sign up to chat. So I've now got Canva GPT open, right? And so basically, you see the Chat GPT interface, but you're going to have Canva here. And basically, we've got Canva open because I'm using the Canva GPT. Right now, you might want to do this. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you do want to actually go through this process because basically, what it's going to do is it's going to give you a bird's eye view of how you understand what it actually does. One way to ask the question is to ask it, to tell you in plain language what it does. So if you read this and you think, boy, that's still not exactly what I wanted to know, maybe just go back and ask it in plain language, what does the Canva chatbot actually do? Right now, let's do this. If we're going to do this, what we're going to do now is we're going to ask for 10 sample prompts. And so we will then ask for 10 prompts, right? So that's just the way that I ask the question. I ask the question, what are 10 prompts that leverage the use of this chatbot? You can ask that question however you want. There's no magic in the question. So I basically want it to tell me how to use how to prompt it in order to get some results, right? So it's going to kind of give you, right? It's going to give you some ideas here. Now, here's where I want to kind of come back to understanding what the capacity is, right? Because as you can see here, what Canva is telling you is it's telling you what these are all the things that you can do. And here's how you're going to ask ChatGPT inside of the chatbot in order to do that. However, you'll notice that there are only 10 things here. If we know only those 10 things, that's all we're going to ask it to do. However, we know the entire capacity, we can ask it to do a whole lot more than this. And we can use these sample prompts as a way of being able to use it. And so that's really what you want to understand how to do. So basically, let's go through an example, right? So I'm going to ask it for an example and to do an example. That's pretty much what we said to do. And I'm just going to ask it to do an example step by step to produce, and let's just say number 1, or a subject that you deem fit. Okay, so now what you'll see here is that it's saying, well, I want to talk to the plugin. I now have to allow it to talk to the plugin. So I've got to click allow. And then it's going to go through its motion, right? So it's going to start to talk to ChatGPT as well as Canva, and it's going to produce something, right? So let's see what it produces. Right, so here are my 2 designs. And what I can do is I can then edit these and I can customize these in Canva. Right, so the idea here is it gives me a template that what I can now do is I can customize these now in Canva. So when I click that link, it takes me to Canva, right? So you do want to make sure you've got your Canva open, and it's going to take you into Canva now to edit what you have just done. I can go now to the other one, right? Let's say I like this one better. I click on that. Design opens in Canva, right? So basically what you're doing is you are using the AI in order to give you ideas that you can put together in order to open up in Canva and then to produce those ideas in Canva. And so you just really want to, again, understand the capacity. You want to understand it well enough to kind of play around with this so that you'll be able then to go into the AI in order to do this. Let's do one more example. In this particular case, let's say we want Canva to design a logo for, let's say we want to design it for a business that sells coaching. We'll say life coaching. Okay, so it's probably going to ask us now. I told it to make some data up, so it's not going to ask me for details. Ordinarily, what it's going to do is ask you for details, and it may still. So we're going to go ahead and click allow, and it's going to go ahead and do its best attempt to design a logo. All right, I don't know if that's any good or not, but it's a logo, right? And so we can do then is we can then click on either one of these, and then we can open them up in Canva. I guess that one's not finished yet. It's still calculating here. It's still going. Okay, so it's still producing. I guess maybe after this one we'll stop it. But you get the idea, right? So you're basically using ChatGPT to interact with Canva so that you can, you can be a little more creative with your words, and you can allow it to kind of go through its motion of what it thinks you were trying to do. So I can take any one of these, I can click on them, and then I can be taken to Canva, right? And then I can start the editing process. Okay, that is how you interact with ChatGPT and Canva. So let's go through a few business applications. Let's talk about USP for a second. You want to make sure your look's not going to be templated. So one of the benefits of being able to use this with ChatGPT is it typically does not going to produce something that's going to look like an existing template, but you do need to make sure that it's not. If you're going to be different, you want to make sure you're definitely different at the look. It definitely shouldn't look like anything else in anybody's category. And so that's another way of being able and reason for you to try to use ChatGPT in order to interact with Canva, in order to work with your designs. It is possible for you to go and have somebody design your templates in Fiverr, but that's not the purpose of ChatGPT. If you're going to be paying the fee, and so you want to use that fee in order to do designs that maybe you wouldn't think of ordinarily. And you want to maybe make sure that when you are redoing your editing, you're saving them, make sure you save them into your brand kit. And then if you're going to use your brand kit, you do want to be consistent about the colors that you're using, right? Whenever you have it, whenever it's possible. Now, one thing that you want to be careful about with Canva is images of people. And really in general, in marketing, especially marketing online, the images of people have to be consistent with whatever your customer avatar is. If it's not, sticking a random image on things, it's going to do you more harm than good. So please do not just put an image, anyone, any place, any person, any place. So even if it's a cartoon figure, you don't just stick that person in there if it's not going to be on purpose. So images of people, this is a rule. It must be consistent with your avatar. If it is not, it will at a very psychological, at a very deep psychological level, it's going to communicate something that you don't want to do. So be careful about putting people in your marketing. If you don't know what your customer avatar is right now, then don't use images, right? Don't use images of people. So, use anything else. I mean, you can use images of inanimate objects if you want to, whatever you want to do. Just don't use images of people if you don't know what the people who are going to be buying and the people respond to. If you don't know what the people look like that you ultimately want to buy and you don't know what that person looks like yet, don't put people in your marketing. Okay, let's talk about some marketing fundamentals. In terms of upsells and cross sells, you can now take your Canva iteration, right? You can create additional information products. You can use a generative AI, and I would make sure that it definitely is going to still be something that's going to be original. You can create documents, videos, and audios with the generative AI. You also want to focus on list building. So at this point, if you don't have a lead magnet, you should be able to use Canva now to create a lead magnet. And so whatever you're doing, I mean, you can use the document process. Right? If you just can't get anything done, you don't have time to get it written, you might need to use the generative AI. Now, again, you got to make sure that everything in there is accurate, but you can use it, for your documents, your videos, and for your audio. And when it comes to doing affiliate marketing and partnerships, very important aspect. You are not going to use your, when you're partnering, right? If you're not going to use your own brand images and visuals, then you have to kind of be careful. You need to do, if you're not going to do a joint grouping, use yours, right? So either use yours or do a joint graphic, but just don't necessarily be quick to say that you're going to use somebody else's graphics in order to communicate, for the joint brand. I mean, if nothing else, do something neutral together. If you decide to partner with someone. And then in terms of educational marketing, make sure you create your content outside of Canva. Even though I just said you can use generative AI, I think you should probably create that content not in Canva. And I don't know how robust the generative text is, and it does work, but still, if you can do that someplace else, it's probably a good idea to generate your text someplace else and use Canva in order to do your visuals. Use Canva for your branding and for the look of your lead magnet. And of course, what's most important is going to be accuracy. And that's what you want to make sure that your documents have. Um, and then what's second most important is going to be your brand. So, if you're going to produce things, make sure that, first of all, they're accurate, when the person reads it, but definitely it ought to brand you. It ought to talk about the things that your business talks about. It ought to lead people to your other products. It ought to talk about, so branding, you start talking about educational marketing and education through a lead magnet. It's more than just sticking your affiliate link in there. It quantitative qualitatively, it ought to talk about your business. It ought to be structured in a way so it's gearing people to have a mindset of the kind of customer that you want. So be careful and be aggressive, be assertive about your brand, especially in your educational materials. Okay, any questions? Any questions? And let me see if I have any, pull open the one here. Any questions? Can you do this with a free version of Canva? That's a good question. I think you can. ChatGPT doesn't know if I have the paid version of Canva. So I don't think you have to have it. Right? But that's a good question. I don't think you have to have the paid version of Canva to do what I did. Any other questions?